Welcome to Legacy Jewelry's first vlog. We're starting with February's birthstone, Amethyst. We're going to circle back to January, but we want to do kind of an in-depth how to take care of your gemstone for every month. And so we're starting in February. So here we are with Amethyst. We're also going to do another segment on the value factors of gemstones, as well as the 4 C's of diamonds and how to buy them with confidence. So let's jump right into it. The main purpose of this vlog is to educate our customers and potential customers on how to properly maintain your jewelry. So I know that I personally didn't know a lot of the tips and tricks that we're going to share throughout our series until I actually started working in the jewelry industry. So, prime example, I would wear my jewelry to bed every night, and I would shower with all my jewelry on. I thought, oh, soap and water, it's clean. But what I didn't realize was, the soap will build up on our pieces, or perfumes and stuff like that, lotions, and it can cause stones to come loose. Wearing your jewelry to bed at night can wear down your prongs. It could actually cut the life of your tips in half. So we love that as jewelers, but I feel that it's, good karma for me to share that information with people so that they can properly take care of their pieces. And so we plan on sharing that with you and have a little fun. So in order to understand how gemstones are kind of graded and valued, you do have to know about Mohs scale of hardness. And you may have heard of it, but it's basically a reference that's in relation to how a stone is going to be able to handle the wear and tear, okay? And so essentially it's identifying the mineral's resistance to scratching. And it is measured on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the hardest. You're going to hear a diamond referenced as a 10. And then a 1 is talc, which is soft enough that you can scratch it with your fingernail. And so the everyday jewelry that most of us wear typically range at about a 7 or above, which is nice for us because we get to enjoy them. But there's some misconceptions around the scale, okay? And what that is specifically to diamonds, that people feel that they're indestructible because they're, the hardest material, right? That's not true. How people come in, oh, my diamond broke. I, hit it against the counter and it this piece fell off. And that's normal because the way that they're structured, it could have this internal cleavage point, and you get it just the right way, and there goes a whole little side of your diamond. So they're not indestructible. Yes, they're one of the hardest materials. Only a diamond can scratch another diamond, but we have to be realistic that they are breakable. They're not, the most durable material on the planet. They're one of the hardest. And so I like to kind of touch on that a little bit because it's important to understand, say, for example, we're talking about amethyst, and that's a 7 on Mohs scale of hardness. So you think, oh, 7 to 10, like that's, a decent jump. Well, in reality, it's quite a bit of a jump because a 10 is 4 times harder than a 9. So it's not one little notch. It's not a linear scale. And a 9 is going to be like your sapphire and your rubies. And that's why you're going to see that in a lot of, especially sapphires, because that's our blue, or something old, something new, something blue. But, you're going to see it in a lot of bridal pieces because it is pretty strong and durable. But in reference to the Mohs scale of hardness, it's 4 times less hard than a diamond. And then if you go into something like a topaz, that's half as hard as a ruby or sapphire. So it's important to realize that scale a little bit. So when you are making purchases in gemstones, for one, your salesperson might not know the hardness. They might have to look it up because it's a lot of information that we have to deal with knowing all the gemstones. But, ask them, have them look it up. And then that way you have a general idea of what kind of wear and tear your piece is going to be able to take. For example, have folks come in and they want an opal as their engagement ring. And although they're absolutely gorgeous, not something that you might want to wear every day, especially depending on what job you do. It does require special care, and we'll talk about that, but it's important to know what you're getting, right, and how you're going to be able to wear it. So as far as amethyst goes, it does range from a light lilac purple to a deep, rich violet purple. And when we're talking about valuing our gemstones, color is one of the most important factors, okay? So they're going to look at your hue and the saturation of that hue, okay? Meaning, how intense is it? And gemstones are graded with 4 C's just like a diamond is. And so they're going to look at how strong is that saturation and is that color even throughout the stone, okay? So you're going from light to dark, from less expensive to more expensive. So your royal purple, that's going to be your more expensive stone. Going back to the 4 C's, I want to touch on that a little bit more. A lightly included stone in a gemstone is perfectly okay. Where if you have, a slightly included stone in a diamond, it's a little bit more taboo. We want to try to get as clear and clean of a diamond as we can, but gemstones, it's definitely more acceptable. So clarity, not so much of a factor. It definitely is a factor if that clarity characteristic compromises the integrity of the stone, but other than that, totally okay. The next factor is your cut, and a lot of people have the misinformation that cut is the shape of your stone, which although it is to an extent, but it's not just the shape. It's going to be how your stone is faceted, the symmetry and dimensions of those facets. Okay, so is it shallow pavilion? Is it a deep pavilion? And we're getting to that as well in more depth. Again, no pun intended. When we go into the 4 C's, but so you can refer to your cut as your shape, but in the gem world, they're really referring more to how is it physically cut. Okay, what is the symmetry of your stone? And then finally, you have your carat, which is going to be your weight of your stone. So think of pennies to $1, right? So a half a carat would be 50 cents to your dollar, okay, with carat being a full, whole piece, okay? So basically, you want to look at your 4 C's, okay? And then you want to look at, what is it that I'm valuing, right? Am I valuing a green stone? Am I valuing a pink stone? Is that color through and through? Okay, because some of them can exhibit both, right? And then that's a whole nother ball game. For example, with amethyst being part of the quartz family, it can change from amethyst to citrine, and catching that transition creates a stone called citrine. And I'm sorry, ametrine. Sorry, I'm not going to edit this. I'm just going for it. But that's ametrine. And so basically, that's when the heat in which it's forming changes, so therefore the chemical composition of the stone changes, and they catch that transition from amethyst to citrine, and it creates this really beautiful two-colored stone. So that's one of the important things, is looking at the overall color of your gemstone, and is it through and through, is it saturated with that color? Okay, we're primarily on this going to focus just on the purple, and it's going to get that purple color from the iron and the aluminum that's around it. Um, and basically those specimens that represent the most ideal color are going to be coming probably from either Brazil or Uruguay. Okay, those are our world leaders in amethyst, and that is because they have these very gorgeous, intricate, um, basically caverns or caves, crevices, cavities that exist with the right conditions for amethyst to form. And so basically what happens is these cavities or crevices of larger rock formations have the right ingredients, such as like melted rock or hot chemical rich fluids that flow down into those veins and create the crystals, which is super, super cool. I definitely recommend, looking up like Brazilian amethyst cave, and you'll be amazed at like how massive these veins can be. They're absolutely gorgeous. Couple other places that you might find uh, amethyst is Namibia, Tanzania, Zambia, and even here in Arizona. We have some here in Arizona. So at some point I'm gonna go digging, and hopefully I'll have some specimens to share with everyone. Um, but back to Mohs scale of hardness. Uh, when we're speaking of amethyst, it's going to be a 7. And so it's moderately scratch resistant. It's a really good resistancy to scratching and, I'm sorry, excuse me, chipping and breaking. I did mention ametrine a little bit earlier, so I don't know if you can see, I think it's got my little face posted right there, but you'll see amethyst and citrine together in like a stand specimen, where they kind of just pose them together because you can see that they like have a beautiful composition together. So it's got a really good toughness. Uh, because it's part of the quartz family, it's really probably considered one of the most abundant mineral specimens in our Earth's crust. Okay, so hopefully I didn't mess this up too bad. Um, remember, it's our first vlog. um, so, main purpose of our vlog is so that you guys know how to take care of these stones, right? And so, couple of key points is that warm soapy water is kind of your go-to for almost any stone. But if you have the resources to use an ultrasonic, it's perfectly okay for amethyst, as long as there's no major clarity characteristics that could compromise the stone, meaning like you have a fracture or something like that. So cleaning, basic soap and water. We do have a fine jewelry cleaner that would work really well for it as well. Just avoid abrupt temperature changes, such as a steamer, okay, because that could cause your stone to fracture. A couple of other things to keep in mind is exposing it to intense or direct sunlight. So that's mainly for like your specimens. There's no routine concerns for gem owners wearing a ring. It's not going to be that uh, intense that you're like, oh, I can't wear my ring out in the sun. It's mainly like for a specimen that, say, you had in your window or something like that, that would be exposed, for long periods of time. As far as treatment, sometimes amethyst is heat treated to either lighten or improve the color, but it's much like the process that's going to happen in nature. Okay, it's not anything crazy. The effects are permanent, but it doesn't require any special care on your part. So if your stone's treated, it's not a big deal. I would say the majority of stones are treated at some level, whether it's heat, radiation, oil filling, something nowadays. So, but as far as what amethyst typically is subjected to, totally not a major concern. So now to the fun part. We'll talk a little bit more about like the metaphysical properties that are associated with amethyst. So there's some naysayers. I'm not here to judge whether you believe or don't believe. However, I will say there is scientific data that proves, everything has energy, right? And um, therefore, it could have a different vibration of energy, which, if exposed to, could propagate different reactions. Okay. So food for thought, but like I said, I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm just gonna share the information that I have in regards to what is said in the metaphysical world in regards to amethyst. So it's said to bring the wearer a clear head, quick wit in battle and business, protect from black magic and treachery, as well as ensure victory in war and hunting, and enhance your psychic abilities. So, total side note, um, when I think of victory in war, I think of royalty. And one of the cool things is amethyst is often seen in crown of jewels anywhere from ancient times to modern times. So, kind of cool. It's a royal stone.